one of the movements would be this left and right movement. But what I didn't like about therapy was that had heard people going to therapy for years and years. I knew kids who were in therapy when I was in high school, and they never seemed to solve their problem. If you change the signal, you can change the problem. Or if you change the pattern, you can change the problem.
All those pages journaling out, and contemplating, why is this energy stuff?
And really even manifesting a lot of attraction, and how many people have been injured by them. Nobody talks about this. Loved, I am lovable. And your nervous system is kicking back, and you get that pain in your gut or in your heart and your throat, like you are absolutely not, because you know why?
Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper into today.
Is this idea. It's a really different way of thinking about consciousness, about trauma, about how the body works and how to change it. And it boils down to one thing.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Transformation Expansion. I'm your host, Lajoie Bradley, and I'm so excited to have Liz Larson here on the show with us today. We had an amazing conversation before talking about Italy and traveling, but now we're going to go ahead and kind of situate ourselves to really talk about this process of transforming and how it really empowers us to expand. It's so, I didn't even realize how in alignment this episode is with our show and with our mission and what Liz's mission is also. So a little bit about Liz. She's the co-creator of the cognomovement system and pioneers many of the revolutionary techniques that are used to change mind, body, and consciousness, utilizing the signals of the nervous system. She is the author of Suffering is Optional. Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Monks might disagree, but we gonna get into it.
All right.
And The Tiny Book of Big Manifesting. Oh, I love that. The Tiny Book of Big Manifesting. It sounds like a child's book, so cute. Little but manifesting. So please welcome Liz onto the show. Liz, how are you feeling today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Excited for this conversation for sure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you were saying a little bit before. Yeah, just again, the alignment of the theme of the show and the work that you do is just completely in alignment, and I'm really excited for that because when I looked into the work that you do, I was really fascinated about it because you really do align movement with this act or with the process of transformation. So can you just talk to the audience a little bit about how this process goes, and even what led you to starting this process or this cogno movement?
Well, I'll start with what led me to it. The truth is, this is what I came to the planet to do. I mean, this is why I'm here. But I know that for a long time. I knew I was supposed to do something that helped people change dramatically, but I didn't know what it is for a long time. But I was that kid who people would ask questions of that I had no business knowing the answer. So I remember at 5 years old, grown-ups asking me questions, and I'm thinking, what the heck? How would I know that? And then I knew the answer. So when I was around 6 years old, my parents became Jehovah's Witnesses. And anything like that would be really, really unacceptable. They don't even believe in the afterlife. So, and my parents they had their reasons and all of that. But I continued on. I mean, I was always the person in my family and in my life that people would ask advice to, and I had no business knowing the answer, but I did. So I knew helping people was really important. But I also knew a therapist would have been the job I should have done, but I ran away from it. I've owned car dealerships. I've been a commercial cake decorating instructor.
Wow.
I've been a makeup artist. But all through that, there was a singular theme that I was the person that people came to for help. There was a big sign on my head that said, "Ask Liz," right? But what I didn't like about therapy was that had heard people going to therapy for years and years. I knew kids who were in therapy when I was in high school, and they never seemed to solve their problem. And they were always talking about the same issue again and again and again. And it didn't change. And I knew that I physically wouldn't be able to handle that. So fast forward in time, my parents both came down with brain diseases at the same time.
Wow.
Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And my family, they ate well. They had no markers for either of those. They never went to the doctor. They weren't on any drugs at all, not high blood pressure, none of it. And so that was really threw me for a loop, because we would have never expected in all of our lives for that to happen. Well, the truth is, what happened is they had about 6 traumas all at once that hit them at the core of who they are. So in hindsight, it makes perfect sense. But I dove headlong into finding out how to help them. What was the brain body connection? And I really fell into recognizing that the body could change the brain and the brain could change the body. So I was at that time in neurolinguistic programming school. I'm a master NLP practitioner. I had to drive 7 hours once a month to Seattle to go to school, and I would listen to everything I could about the nervous system, about how to change the brain. And so as a non-doctor, a non-professional, and that I know so much about the nervous system that I have no business knowing. And so that's how I got into it. And so cogno movement is this idea. It's a really different way of thinking about consciousness, about trauma, about how the body works and how to change it. And it boils down to one thing: change the signal between the brain and the body, and you change the problem. You can change the pattern, you can change the problem. So in cogno movement, we work with things like, abuse, abuse, trauma, traumatic trauma, PTSD, all of those things. But I can just as easily, change of somebody's body who's had a stroke. I can just as easily, get a droopy eye to change, because it's one system. It's the nervous system that controls all those things. It controls how you feel. It controls what you think, and we'll get into that later. It controls what your memories are. It is the great time traveler. It's either holding you in the past or projecting into your future. So for cogno movement, it's the singular thing that we can create change in that changes everything. And once you make those physical changes, and they're very physical, that is where you become more of who you really are, who you came to the planet to be. And naturally, your consciousness changes radically. So in a nutshell, that's it.
I mean, let's go back to the first signal. You said if you change the pattern, you can change the response. Is that what it was?
The problem, yeah. If you change the signal, you can change the problem. Or if you change the pattern, you can change the problem. Yeah.
Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper into that, because so what do you mean change the pattern? You mean like just do something different? Did your vibration get a serious boost from this week's podcast? I know mine did. And I'm willing to bet there's a whole community that also feels the same way. Wait, actually, there is a whole community. That's right. On Facebook, we now have the Transformation to Expansion community, where we actually have weekly discussions about the podcast episodes, and we even try out the freebies all together as a community to help us stay accountable. So definitely go ahead and check that out. The link is in the description below, and I'll see y'all there. Peace.
No. So with so many things, it's about changing your habit. It's about changing your logical mind, right? I eat too many chocolate chip cookies, so I have to have willpower to not eat so many chocolate chip cookies, for example, right? But in reality, your logical mind already knows that, right? You know you shouldn't eat it. You know it's not good for you. You know you don't achieve your goals. But there's this part of your body that creates a driver. Like before you know it, you're going and grabbing the cookie, right? Without thinking, you're buying it at the store, and then later you just feel awful about it, right? But all the time your logical mind knew that is not, I don't even want to be doing that. So what's that driver? What's the push? What makes you crave something so much that you do it even though you don't want to? It's a fight or flight pattern in the nervous system. So the signal is from the body to the brain to the body, or the body to the brain, and it can go either way. And in this case, with a chocolate chip cookie craving, there's a sensation that starts in the body, a push feeling that starts in the body. And then before you know it, what pops in your brain? Oh, chocolate chip cookies, right? I'm feeling a little nervous. Oh, chocolate chip cookies. I'm feeling a little sad. Oh, chocolate chip cookies, right? So it's a pattern. It's a loop. We call it a calibrated loop. that sends a signal, the signal is sent to the brain, and then the brain finds a place that's anchored to that signal. And then there's a very specific place that's anchored between the brain and the body, and it creates the exact same sensation pattern over and over again, which creates the behavioral pattern. So with cogno movement, I'll tell you specifically for chocolate chip cookie craving, what we do is we have the person literally enjoy the craving while we reroute the signal. So we have the body want it as much as it wants it. We have the body enjoy it as much as it enjoys it, because that's a sensation, a feeling too, right? Sending signals to the brain. But while we're doing that, we're shifting left hemisphere, right hemisphere, kinesthetic body. We're shifting left hemisphere, right hemisphere, logical mind. We're shifting left hemisphere, right hemisphere, ideas and inspiration, right? We're activating the learning centers, auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and more. So that we're really stimulating the nervous system, activating all different parts of it while running this singular pattern. Now, the body has never done that before. It's like, I'm just enjoying my chocolate chip cookie. I'm just wanting it and enjoying it and savoring it as much as I do, while we're running that pattern in a completely new way. So what we're really doing is we're sorting the brain and the body for something that's far more resourceful, something that takes it out of the nervous system and gives it to the logical mind, right? So what happens is, in about 15 minutes of this session, all of a sudden you're like, ugh, that sort of tastes like wax, or can you take that away, please? Or I don't want it. We didn't change the taste buds. We didn't change the olfactory, the scent, smell. What we changed is the body is now recognizing it for what it is. And when someone has a craving for something, it's usually not resourceful. A lot of times they're allergic to it even. It's exactly the opposite of what they need. So all of a sudden the lights come on and now everybody's home. And it's like, oh, I don't only not need that. I don't want it. But what also happens is, in that process, the truth shows up. Oh, whenever I scraped my knee, my mom gave me a cookie, right?
Right.
My grandma's house smelled like cookies, and I went there to get away from the trauma of home. The nervous system is constantly looking for something that feels safe, even though it's dangerous. It's just got a conflicted signal. So this is what I mean. Change the signal, you change the problem. And from that moment on, chocolate chip cookies, they just don't hold any, you just don't want them. You're like, no, thank you. And there's no decision anymore. You're not trying to override your body's driver. Now your logical mind is in the driver's seat, and it's just not an issue anymore.
Wow. I mean, it sounds powerful. It sounds like medicine a lot of people need. And I love that example of, the cookie, right? Like, so yeah, even I think this is pretty common with parents. They'll use sweets to pacify their kids. It's normal. I think now maybe it's not sweets. It's, YouTube or TikTok. I think that's the pacifier now, but
it doesn't even have to be that. It can be that just in a big moment, you had this thing and you felt better. My business partner, Bill, had a man come who he didn't want to come to the session at all. His wife made him. And he's like, just anything. Is there anything, you want to change? And he's like, I drink a little too much red wine. Well, it turned out that red wine was associated to a singular moment in time, a dinner party, in which his family, who'd been very, very estranged, came together. And at that party, everybody enjoyed a glass of red wine.
So have you ever felt like you're meant for more? You're here for a reason. Something inside of you knows that there's more. There's more purpose. There's more connection. There's more fulfillment. There's more love to be enjoyed in this life. What if all of that was here right now? Your life easier to navigate, your dreams easier to manifest. You can live in a life of ease, even in these uncertain times with Pluto being in Aquarius. Your community of expansion is right here at your fingertips. From the moment you enter, you feel the sense of release and comfort. No more wondering if all those downloads you got as a kid were just random thoughts. No more wondering that time you had telepathy, thinking that it was just a fluke. Be with the people you know are here for you. Join our ever-expanding community on Patreon for free. And for those of you who ask, yes, the Wellness Library is included. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Peace.
Now, his logical mind had no idea that that was it. He just kept indulging a little too much in red wine. What his nervous system wanted, remember I said it's the great time traveler, it wanted to travel back into that moment when everything was really just okay. Mm-hmm. It's just an anchor for the body, and it'll send a signal again, like that makes us feel safe. That makes us feel safe. Mm-hmm. Even though your logical mind would be like, that really isn't good for your body. It's not good for your mind. It's not good for your consciousness. But that's the nervous system's job, is to keep us safe and alive. Unfortunately, it gets weird programming, just like our computers do. It gets a little weird idea, weird virus, mm-hmm. and it'll drain energy. And sometimes it drains all of your energy. A singular problem that has something that has happened in life where the body keeps trying to go back to that moment to correct it, even though obviously that's impossible. So it creates all of these, just like a computer, everything goes a little bit haywire, and there's not enough energy to think or feel or digest or love or expand your consciousness.
So I know a lot of people tap into the subconscious. This is kind of a key thing. Yeah, I mean, there's so many interesting things when it comes to the subconscious. But we've had people on the show who do like maybe a form of hypnotherapy where they have mm-hmm. you fully relax, yeah. and then try to go back on that timeline where you go back to that instance. And I know this works for some people, but for a lot of people, these methods might not work, right? Even what's the other one? The tapping, what is it called?
Mm-hmm. EFT.
EFT. It works for some people. It doesn't work for others, right? Yeah. So what was interesting about the technique that you have was that you actually incorporate more movement into that. Can you talk a little bit about how you incorporate movement into this process of going into the subconscious?
Well, we're incorporating a lot of things. So the movement part, we use a little tool called a cogno ball. This is one mm-hmm. version. And one of the movements would be this left and right movement. And from low to high is one of the basics ones we use. And so what's happening is I'm activating my kinesthetic part of my body, my touch, right? Mm-hmm. We're utilizing... this is complex geometric symbols. They're also chakra symbols that accesses a certain part of the plane. Part of my brain wants to see color, really likes color. Part of my brain wants this geometric symbol. So we're activating all these levels. And then again, as I'm moving through parts of the body. So eye movement, when my eyes are in the down position, I'm connected with my kinesthetic body, my feelings. Mm-hmm. You know this. If you see somebody who's like this, you're like, oh, are you sad? Right? Feeling state, right? As I'm moving, like we're using this movement, and I move into this part, I'm literally in the part of my body that's my logical mind, eyes and ears, but I'm also in neutral. So if you were to see me kind of space off like this, it's always right here, right? Neutral. My physical body knows how to go into neutral zoning, right? And then as we're moving above up here. So chin down, eyes up is, and if you saw me doing this, what would you think? I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Ideas and inspiration are activated here. So that's just one level of some of the things we do, and it incorporates the whole nervous system. It incorporates so many aspects that it immediately jumps you out of the pattern that you're in. So you're focused on the sensation. In cogno movement, it's you feel how you feel. There is absolutely none of this spiritualizing it. There is none of this like try to think better thoughts. It's like you dig in, you feel how you feel. And then you apply these methods. And it's so disconcerting for the nervous system that the nervous system then sees itself and autocorrects. So you said the word subconscious, and that's why I said that cognitive movement is a different way of thinking. We recognize the subconscious as the nervous system. So I'll ask you this question. Do you know where your subconscious is? Could you point to it?
Oh, I think you already know. I'm going to point to my brain.
It's not there. It's not
Oh,
there.
crazy. Okay.
It's not even necessarily local. It's it's the thing that creates your actions and reactions automatically, right? It's the thing that gathers information and then reacts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the nervous system in which holds those patterns. Now, in our world, the nervous system extends around the body about 6 to 8 feet, has to. There's reasons for that. But for us, the nervous system is the subconscious, and it is the place where you can change that. And what's important about that is the idea of the subconscious, it's not a thing, it's an idea that came into existence in the late 1800s, maybe a little earlier than that. A couple of people's idea and people built on it. But it's also a term that most people think is inaccessible. You don't have access to it. It's your subconscious that does things to you and for you. It's not true. It's very easily adjustable if you know how to access it. And accessing it through the nervous system is a direct line into your subconscious, which is then reprogrammable very easily, very simply, if you know how to find the pattern.
But yeah, but you got to know how to find the pattern. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people either don't know how to do, they don't know how to like tap into that. Well, but I don't know, because they always say that, right? They say that the first step to really undoing a habit is being aware, right? That awareness that you even have the habit in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does take a couple of tries for people to get to that state. But then what do they do from there? Like what are they not supposed to do, but some people, they have the awareness and then they're just like, well, I have the awareness. I know that this is an issue, but I can't really do anything about it, right? Or let's put that in quotes.
Yeah, that's my problem with it. Is that what do you do? You know, awareness is great. It's the first step. Oh, I do that thing. I didn't even realize I did that thing. Now what do you do with it? Most people suffer, right? Oh, I'm bad. Oh, I don't have willpower. Oh, I'm lazy. Oh, I'm stuck. We hear that one all the time. I'm stuck. And that is such a terrible sensation. So how you find it is you find where is your body active. So for people listening, this is an easy one because everyone has felt stuck in their life at some point. And when you think about stuck, there is a part of your body that gets active. Like it'll get hot or it'll feel cramped or it'll feel tight. For some people, like their hands go numb or they feel buzzy or there's a tightness in the face or in the back or in the knees. Actually, even sometimes it's physical pain, like a frozen shoulder. That is where your body is holding. That's the key into the pattern. Now, there's a second key into the pattern, and it's the eyes. So, if you were to tell me about a problem that you have, in about 30 seconds, I would tell you where your brain holds the pattern. So, our eyes access files in our brain. If you were to say, Liz, think about what you're going to have for dinner tomorrow night, I would look into the place that my brain accesses my future and, what I'm going to do then. You just saw my eyes move. That's it. There it is. If I were to ask you, Lajoie, tell me about the most beautiful place on the planet you've ever visited. And then I were to ask you, tell me about a person that you absolutely adore, warts and all, non-romantically, they're likely going to be in exact same place. Because what they do is access a feeling. We call it the love direction. Everyone has one. You can find it in 3 questions, about 10 seconds. So the eyes are going to access the part of the brain. But in that same place, for some people, it's exactly where the eyes are glitchy, where they won't move, where they get itchy, where all of a sudden you start crying or you'll be angry. So we're accessing 2 points. The part of the brain that holds the one end of the pattern and that physical sensation in the other end. And once you kind of just understand the concept, it's really easy to find the pattern, really easy. And then what has to be done is that pattern has to be changed. And that's where we use the cogno movement patterns. And they're just expert ways of accessing that nervous system and changing the way it sees itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not somebody else's idea. It's not the practitioner's idea. It's not mine and Bill's idea. It's literally getting your body to autocorrect in a way that's more resourceful for your body, for your life, for your consciousness. And your body always knows what that is. It just needs a little help to get like out of the ditch and onto the curb. And then you go from there.
Out of the ditch and onto the curb. Okay.
Out of the ditch. Well, think about it, like it's better. You're not in the ditch anymore. You're on
Right.
the curb, right? And then from there you can get on the sidewalk and onto the lawn and back into the house.
Mm-hmm.
But a nervous system that's in a loop, and we all have them. We all have them. There's layers of them. A nervous system that is so entrenched is in the ditch. And it can't get out of its own way until it's shown a new way out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons you said, like, maybe tapping doesn't work for people, maybe that, hypnosis. And a lot of it is because they are not actually accessing that individual's pattern. You have to know how the body accesses that information, and it's individual for each human. There are some generalities, but that is one of the first things I recognized is there's no one thing that fits all.
Mm-hmm.
There is a way that nervous systems work, and there's a way to change them, but the signal, the pattern, the time it takes is going to be very unique to that human. And it's why it's so important, especially to me, that the person finds their own answer and their system corrects itself, because that's always going to be the optimal. That's going to be the very best for them individually.
Everybody's so different. Everybody's so unique in essence. And I think it's really important, no matter what kind of work you're doing, to really honor that and respect that and really tell the person, hey, if that's working, keep going with that. You've gone to the retreats, sat in ceremonies, even worked with healers. And now you've been told that it's your turn to do the work. Well, this is that next step. I'm so excited to share with y'all that this year we have our first Transformation to Expansion event on September 9th, 2025, where we will be in ceremony together, releasing all the things that are blocking us from truly transforming into the new version of ourselves. So you can really go into 2026 as the new you and stop holding back. This is going to be a really powerful activation, y'all. I really don't want y'all to miss it. If you're one of the first 15 people to sign up, your ticket is completely free. So make sure to check the link in the description below for the link to the ticket for this event. I cannot wait to see y'all there. I love y'all so much. And really, we are actually, when we do that, when we're called to do that or empowered to do that, we're actually really tapping into the parts of our brains that we usually don't tap into, right? Whether it's, connecting to our ancestors, whether it's, connected to the super conscious. We're really, it's coming from somewhere, right? But there's like certain things that, only we can have access to, right? Because it's, somewhere ingrained in our DNA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cogno movement is built on 150 little tools. So when we train somebody to do this work, we start with just the tiniest thing, like what changes if you're talking about an issue and you bring your eyes from low to high? What changes? Or if you just have them move left and talk about it, or right and talk about it. So each one of these little tools, they have to create a minor or major, what we call a remap, on their own, or they don't get into the system. So we learn how to use them all in concert and shift and change for the body that needs it. So, and people learn to do it for themselves. You can learn some really simple patterns, but there's all these little tiny pieces that are put together. Like I said, where the learning centers are turned on, and then we're harmonizing the left and right hemisphere, and then we're moving through, the eye positions of the body. So if one thing doesn't work, something else is going to catch on. And there's so many things coming out of body at the same time that usually the nervous system's like, okay, I give up. I give up. I'm going to address this pattern, focused on the feeling, and see what else there is. So, that's how it works. And so when we train practitioners, they know how to watch the nervous system. They flow with the nervous system. The other thing they do expertly is stay out of the story. Do not give advice. They never know the answer, because that person's body, that nervous system is going to find an answer that you could never in a million years even imagine. We're always shocked, like, how can that be it? I always tell a story about a person whose life was ruined over a popsicle, literally. She was hangry at 4 years old. Her mom didn't give her a popsicle. And from that, her nervous system thought, I'm unloved. And it continued to attract to itself things that proved that issue. Like, mom didn't give me a popsicle, but she gave my sister a popsicle. I'm unloved. Go to school and 6 years old, and those girls just gave me a bad look. I'm unloved. Oh, that boy doesn't like me back. I'm unloved, right? So the family, they struggled. They went to therapy. They did all the things because they couldn't understand why this girl felt unloved. She was so loved, right? Turns out her nervous system had attached to a pattern, an idea that really, really hurt on a day that she was hungry, probably cranky, needed a nap, might have been too hot. Billy Joe over there probably kicked her in the shin. The atmosphere around a moment gave it a meaning, but there was no meaning. But it was so important, and it hurt so much that her little nervous system just kept keeping score, right? So if a person came in and said, I just can't keep a relationship, I can't, find a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, I might imagine, well, maybe you need to dress a little better, maybe you need to talk nicer, maybe you need to have more self-love. If I didn't know how to follow the nervous system, I would have never let her system find the place in the body that remembered that day, that felt exactly like it feels every time they can't find a relationship. 4 years old and a popsicle. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. The nervous system, the subconscious, it's not logical. It's based in how I feel. And how I feel informs my brain for how I think. And then the brain thinks it's very, very real. Very real. Even though, as you hear the story, that wasn't true, but it was real to her. So that's another big thing, is why it's so personal. And it's not just personal to the human, it's personal to that unique nervous system and what its experiences are.
I mean, it makes it so powerful to be able to like undo those things too, because that's very common. So I've heard that. I had a friend of mine, she did a peyote like walk.
Yeah.
I don't know thing. It's not a walkabout, but she, she went to Mexico. She tapped in with her roots, and she did peyote, and then she also, went for a walk into the desert. And yeah, and she was telling me about that. I forgot what the wound that she was really working on, but she was like, yeah, I walked for like 3 or 4 hours, and what it ended up being was that one time when I was 4, my grandpa told me no, and that was the source. That was literally I was like, what? Like, she was like so surprised. But it's crazy because, especially as adults, we think that it's always going to be this like terrible thing that happened to me or something like super extreme. And then when we figure out, oh, it's just this little thing, we're like, oh, that's not really a big deal. But you're right. It's about the emotion, right? It's not really about.
An emotion is a physical sensation. That's another thing that most people miss. Emotion is only every time a physical sensation that sends a fight or flight to the brain. It gets the amygdala involved, and it's like, oh, wait, there's a lion. We better run, but there's nowhere to run, right? And the pattern goes round and round, and it gets bigger and bigger, and it gets more and more important. But every time there is a physical sensation, you don't know you have an emotion. I mean, a problem without a physical sensation corresponding. That is what makes this so successful, because we're always focused on how does the body do that thing? How does it send that signal that lets you know, oh, now I'm sad. Now I'm angry. Now I'm afraid, because there's a signal that goes somewhere, from somewhere to the brain that says, oh, yeah, I know that feeling. That's fear. Oh, yeah, I know that one too. That's sadness. Right. So that's why we're always focused there first. And then that shows us how to change it. That is the pathway in.
It just fascinates me because it's based in movement. I think we've heard about like ecstatic dance. I've personally been called recently to move a lot more and to just dance more. But this whole, it makes sense because a lot of these emotions, a lot of these events, they're trapped in our bodies, right? What better way but then to activate our bodies to move, to release it? It makes perfect sense. But I don't know why I still spent all of those years journaling, all those pages journaling out, and contemplating, why does this energy suck? This is me, setting the intention. I am releasing this from my body. Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's a really good thing to talk about, is affirmations. And really even manifesting a lot of attraction, and how many people have been injured by them. Nobody talks about this, but you'll say, I am loved, I am lovable. And your nervous system is kicking back, and you get that pain in your gut or in your heart, in your throat, like you are absolutely not, because you know why? This person and that person and that person hurt you, and it's going to happen again, right? So you're trying to override your body's natural fight or flight system with your logical mind. And actually, the truth is, the nervous system just digs in deeper and keeps fighting against you. Something has to happen to get the body out of the pattern. Sometimes it's a huge epiphany that happens, right? What's an epiphany? All of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, that changes everything. And then you see the world differently. And then your body functions differently around it. So often people will go to events and seminars or read a book or have a session. And in that moment, you're like, oh my God, I just saw what this is. Like your friend, for example. And they're like, that is going to change everything. That's going to change all the things. But a day or 2 or 3 days later, your body's right back in that pattern again. The logical mind is not strong enough to override it. You have to change the way the body reacts physically to it. And then it will change the pattern. People think our logical minds are what leads the show, and it isn't. It translates the physical sensation. And I'll tell you why this makes perfect sense and why it needs to be this way. When you're a little kid, right, your mom says, don't touch that, that's hot, right? But you touch it anyway. And the body goes, oh, hot. I just learned I'm not going to do that again, right? So it has to have that instant reaction. The next time you feel heat, you know to do this immediately. There's no logical mind time to think about it. If you had to, you'd be burned alive in the stove 5 times by the time you're 3 years old. Also, think about this. If a lion walked in your house right now, in your room right now, you do not want your logical mind thinking, oh, that's cute. I wonder if it's going to bite me. How did it get in here? You need your body to instantly react and move, right? The logical mind cannot be a part of that. You need to move first to get safe and alive. And then later you're like, oh God, that was stuffed. That wasn't even real, not real. So we know that our body's natural way is to feel an instinct and for the logical mind to translate what that instinct is. Our emotions are the same. Our memories are the same. Our food cravings are the same. Why we're attracted to certain people and not are all exactly the same. They're the same system. The body reacts first and then informs the mind. Here's what we think about that with this emotion, with this very specific feeling, which is always a fight or flight involved in it. Do we feel safe or do we not feel safe?
Okay. So going from there, yeah, because I can really relate to what you're saying, because there's been stuff I've had that experience where I try to do my morning affirmations. I try to write, And then it's like when I'm writing those affirmations, that feeling comes up and I'm like, what is this? I want this, like, this is something that I want in my life. Why am I still feeling so much resistance, to it? Like, and again, it's a feeling, right? Your logical brain can't make sense of it, right? You're like, this makes no, we know this is what we want, what's going on. But then that feeling comes up where it's like, well, where do I go from here?
So, have you ever felt like you're meant for more? You're here for a reason. Something inside of you knows that there's more. There's more purpose, there's more connection, there's more fulfillment, there's more love to be enjoyed in this life. What if all of that was here right now? Your life easier to navigate, your dreams easier to manifest. You can live in a life of ease, even in these uncertain times with Pluto being in Aquarius. Your community of expansion is right here at your fingertips. From the moment you enter, you feel the sense of release and comfort. No more wondering if all those downloads you got as a kid were just random thoughts. No more wondering that time you had telepathy, thinking that it was just a fluke. Be with the people you know are here for you. Join our ever-expanding community on Patreon for free. And for those of you who ask, yes, the Wellness Library is included. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Peace.
Yeah, that's one of the underlying reasons from my part of creating Cogno Movement is I did all the things. I did all these things, right? All of them. And then it still felt the same. I still couldn't get out of my own way. And I remember, who Louise Hay is, Hay House Radio, You Can Heal Your Life. Well, she's my hero, hands down my hero. But she had this process where you stand in the mirror and you'd say, I'm lovable. I love you. You're beautiful. I just wanted to punch Louise Hay in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I just, and I had amazing parents who adored me. They thought I was the universe, but this lovable thing, I'm like, yeah, but you can't get this done and you look like that and you feel this way. Like I just couldn't do it because my nervous system just kept kicking back. That is not true for whatever reason, not logical at all. But I just couldn't get out of my own way. And I just kept, everything I did, I felt the same because I wasn't addressing the literal physical feeling that happened when I tried to make that idea, when I tried to embody those things, I was ignoring the physical feeling and trying to get my logical mind to believe it. It just doesn't work. It's just not the way our bodies function. So in our work, we're going to address that feeling. Feel it. Feel that pit in your stomach that happens when you try to think I'm lovable. Let yourself really dive into that physical sensation. And now let's move the body in a way. Let's move the eyes. Let's move the body. Let's move the learning centers in a way that actually frees yourself, gets out of the ditch and onto the curb from that entrenched feeling. And then really it happens so quickly once the body sees, oh, yeah, that was just a feeling. Oh, that's not true. Oh, there's where it came from. It's done with it. It's vanished. We call it collapsing the loop or collapsing the pattern. And it literally, your body never feels that way around that subject again. It just doesn't. There's no connection. It doesn't make sense anymore to the nervous system.
Okay. So let's put it not put it to the test. But I know in the freebie you said for today, Liz is actually going to give you guys an opportunity to do an exercise with us today to really help you start that process of, breaking those habits, but doing it from the space of the feelings, not forcing that logical mind or having that logical mind try to force its way through the feeling, which we all know isn't really possible. We know through experience.
It just isn't. Yeah, it's just not the way it works. Yeah, so I'm going to give everybody a little mini session. And we're going to use, I call it the 4 corners of the brain, or literally the 4 opinions. And we say it's of the brain, but it's really not. It's your body. But we're going to access 4 different zones to see how you feel about something. So pick something in your life that you want to change that's this big, tiny. If you pick something huge, we're not going to be able to do it in a few minutes. Pick something tiny that you would like to change. maybe it's getting up 10 minutes earlier in the day, or maybe it's walking, taking.
That's it for part 1. I will see you next week in part 2. Peace.